So shall we begin? Does anything need to happen before we begin? I haven't done this before. Ask me to play the organ, that's fine. Thank you all for being here. I can't believe so many people are here to hear me talk, and it's not a Wednesday night and the choir showing up to be rehearsed for Sunday morning. Thank you very much for being here and for your interest in the stuff that I'm presenting today. I'd like to first offer a disclaimer to say that I am no expert on the history and origin of Christmas carols, but I have been playing them and singing them my whole life. I've done a lot of research to prepare for this class, and there is so much published and so much on the internet that you can find about the tradition of singing carols in all different parts of the world that it's one of these kind of enormous topics that we simply can't address in one class like this. So I encourage you, if you're really interested in researching, reading more about the history of Christmas carols, not only in our culture, but in other cultures, then seek out those resources that you can find online and in print. I'm going to be really focusing my time with you today on Western music. That's what we sing the most of here at Westminster. Most churches in the United States are singing Western music for the most part. And so that's where I'll be focusing my attention today. At any point during this presentation, if you have a question to ask, just raise your hand and interrupt me. I'm happy to stop, and we'll take questions as they come. If you're like me, if I don't ask a question while I'm thinking about it, 2 seconds later, I've forgotten what it is. So, Sudi's excellent sermon today talked about the journey that we have entered today in Advent, a season of hope and expectation. And so I'd like to begin there and take us on a musical journey from Advent into Christmas. Today we're going to examine some of the music of the church, the Christmas carols in particular. Plus, I also want to share with you some information about next week's Christmas choral concert, what you'll be hearing next Sunday afternoon. It's one thing for us to talk about music, to talk about Christmas carols, but it's a completely different experience when we make music, when we sing music, when we play music, when we become the participant and not the consumer. Music is not just something that we hear. It's a sensation that we feel. We feel it in the depths of our soul and in the deepest corners of our hearts. And therefore, today we're going to have a chance to sing a few of these carols and not just talk about them together. And everybody be sure that you picked up a hymnal on the way in. If you didn't get one in the later arrivals, please grab a hymnal because you're going to need it in a few minutes. Because of the broadness of expression in music, music touches our heart and reaches into the soul, unlike the spoken word. Now, when music is expertly combined with the talents of a skilled composer and an inspired poet, the experience for both the listener and the participant is strengthened even further. Musicians and consumers of our product alike are equal partners in the shared experience of music. And when we talk about music and poetry, in the hymns of the church and the Christmas carols of the church, we're talking about the carol melodies in one hand. We're talking about the poetry, the text in the other, that is wedded together to make the Christmas carol, or to make the hymn that we sing on Sunday morning. In your bulletins on Sunday, you'll see a hymn number, you'll see the title of the hymn that we're singing, and on the right margin, you'll see a short little name usually, and sometimes something we can't pronounce. But what you see in the right margin is the name of the hymn tune that is associated with the text that we're singing. Now, there may be nothing so beloved as a Christmas carol. We all have our favorites, don't we? Christmas music has been playing on the radio and television and in the grocery store since Halloween. And I must confess that it's on every time I get in my car. Sirius XM Channel 71, right there with me all the time. So why aren't we singing Christmas carols yet at Westminster, you might ask? Here we are in December, the first Sunday of Advent. What's wrong with us, you might ask? There's nothing wrong with us at all. We're observing the season of Advent, which begins today. This is a season of great expectation and hope, not just for the coming of Christmas, but anticipation of the arrival of the Christ child in Bethlehem. Advent lasts for 4 weeks, while the Christmas season lasts for only 12 days. Clearly, the season of Christmas got the short end of the stick when the liturgical planners were setting forth the liturgical calendar, right? 12 days of Christmas, just like the song goes. Now, if you want to start singing Christmas carols in October, I want you to mark your calendars. Choir rehearsals begin in September. And the first week in October is when we start practicing our Christmas music for Westminster. Please come and join us. Now, the scripture readings that we have appointed for the season of Advent, and the hymns, and the anthems we sing, just as the Psalm sings, "O Lord Jesus, quickly come," of anthem of waiting expectation that you heard today. All of these instruct us to wait, to watch, and hope. And how on earth can we do this in the midst of the great commercialization and sentimentality of Christmas? As each Sunday of Advent grows darker and darker, as the daylight hours fade, and as we approach the winter solstice, then at the darkest time of the year, after we pass the winter solstice, we experience the birth of the Christ child, the light of the world, and each day following grows brighter. Now we're into Christmas, so we're ready to sing our Christmas carols. So you might say, well, what is a Christmas carol? What makes a Christmas carol? Well, I talked about the music, the poetry combined makes a Christmas carol, that makes a hymn that we sing, makes an anthem that we sing. Christmas carols are simply the songs that we sing during Christmas time to celebrate the birth of Jesus. We don't typically sing Christmas carols all year long. We sing them at Christmas time. Many of these Christmas carols were originally folk songs that were often paired with dancing. If you can imagine a beer hall somewhere in Germany, people gathered around drinking beer and singing, "I saw 3 ships come sailing in." Good old beer hall song, right? Okay. At one time in history, carols, not just Christmas carols, but carols were sung all year long. There were carols that were written for springtime, and there were carols that were written for harvest. And oftentimes these carols were accompanied with dancing. So it's not just singing, but it's dancing too. I mean, what fun. The Christmas carol really is the only carol that has stood the test of time. And we know that the first Christmas carol was recorded in 129 AD, when Christian-oriented hymns and music began to take over the pagan songs used to celebrate the winter solstice. So, why have the Christmas carols stood the test of time? Because of joyful expectation, longing, mystery, nostalgia, or perhaps our own belief in the miracle of Christmas. So, why do you think the Christmas carols are so important to us, so important to our Christian culture? Anyone? Celebrating the birth of Christmas.
We've been singing them since we were children, for one thing.
Absolutely.
So they're part of our own being.
It's a part of our DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been singing them all of our
And they put
lives.
us in the proper spirit.
Tradition. Yeah, tradition. And you know, not all Christmas carols are the old ones. Christmas carols are still being composed, still being written by composers today. If we look all the way back to the medieval period, many of the older carols that you'll recognize and that we know include the Coventry Carol, Lully, Lulay, thou little tiny child, God rest ye merry gentlemen, and while shepherds watch their flocks by night, Recognize those? All from the medieval period. First example of a published carol was the Boar's Head Carol in 1521. We've been singing Christmas carols a long, long time, folks. Yeah, it is part of our DNA. It is a part of our culture. It is a part of our tradition. Most of the Christmas carols that we know and sing today, not all of them, but the wide majority of them were collected and printed during the 19th century. And these include such popular favorites, Hark the Herald Angels Sing, which was set to music by Mendelssohn in 1840. Silent Night, as we all know and love, in 1818 by Franz Gruber. And Good King Wenceslas in 1853, all very popular carols from the 19th century. And also Christmas caroling itself came into public practice during the 19th century. Christmas caroling has been around for a long time. So we've talked about some of the things that make up a Christmas carol, but once you have the carol, doesn't it sound just like any other hymn that we sing in church? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So what are some of the characteristics that really makes a Christmas carol sound Christmassy? So we take O Come, O Ye Faithful, which was originally known as Adeste Fideles when it was sung in Latin from the 18th century, has a refrain at the end. O come, let us adore him. O come, let us adore him. O come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. And every verse ends with the same refrain. You take Hark the Herald Angels Sing, same idea. Hark the Herald Angels Sing, Glory to the Newborn King, follows every verse. We look at Angels We Have Heard on High, Gloria in Excelsis Deo, after every verse, and those wonderful four parts that the choir loves to sing. Christmas carols are found in both major and minor keys. And so many music teachers have done the world a disservice by teaching young people that minor keys sound sad and major keys sound happy. Well, while that is perhaps a good way to try to describe that kind of difference in tonality, there's nothing sad about minor at all. In fact, there are major hymns that sound sad, or major carols that sound sad, and there are minor carols that sound happy. So the tonality of the Christmas carol is what shapes the personality of the music that we sing and play, whether it's major or minor, paired with the text. Like I said, I think that the minor keys often get the short end of the stick because we think it doesn't sound happy. Sometimes it's a little bit on the slower side. But there are also many, many examples of music in the major keys that is slow, that's reflective, that doesn't have that happy sound to it. And if we try to go through life being happy all the time and not reflective and being Pollyanna, in life, we don't experience the full range of emotions that God has given us. I'd like to call out some of the greatest music ever composed was written in minor keys. Why is that? Well, minor keys offer more possibilities for expression. There are 12 major keys and 12 minor keys. Well, among those 12 minor keys, there are 3 different variants of minor that can be used. And so we really have 3 different forms of minor keys. And composers love that because it gives them more possibilities, more notes to use, more colors to employ. And so that's probably why some of the greatest monuments in classical music are Bach's Mass in B minor, exactly. The Tchaikovsky Piano Concerto in B flat minor, yes, exactly. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony in D minor, into major, starts in minor, yeah, and the Moonlight Sonata, minor, right? Okay, great monuments, great examples. So not only do we have the tonality, the major minor tonality in our Christmas carols, But we also have tempo, the speed that we sing them, and the harmony that goes along with them. And the tempo and harmony together can affect the music we experience, both in major and minor keys. So it's the job of the composer to make the music complement the text. And more often than not, the composer comes to the party last, after the poet has written the poetry, has written the text, and then it's set to music by the musician. Rarely do a musician and poet work together. Ideally, that's what should always happen, so that the music and the poetry both inform each other and they're created together in one joint effort. So above all, for the composer, when the composer is doing his or her job, the stirring melodies and a light mix of major and minor and sometimes diminished tonalities is what makes the Christmas carol truly sound Christmas. And this is how we express the joy, the awe, the majesty of Christmas that has been disseminated through music for centuries, as we've talked about. So I'd like to look at a few examples, and this is where you're going to need your hymnals and your singing voices. I want to look at a couple of minor hymns to start with, minor carols, I should say. Turn to 145, please. What child is this? Let's sing the first stanza together. So listen to that. The carol in a minor key, and what happens in the text at the very end of the verses. Every verse ends with a what? Punctuation. Ends with a exclamation point. Not sad at all, is it? Yeah? Stand and sing this with me again. Think about this tradition of putting some motion into your song, into your carol singing. Everybody stand up. Put a little step into your singing, okay? I know you're cramped for space, but put a little step into it. Here we go. And okay, you all aren't stepping. I need you to step. Be musical with it. Yeah, okay. Give it some motion. Okay, here we go. 1 and 2 and. Thank you. Be seated. You see, it brings the music to life. You know, a musician who stands and sings like this, or plays the violin like this, is not having the full expression, the full experience of the music. So, I encourage you on Sunday morning when we're singing the hymns, feel the beat in there. Get a little groove going. Okay. Good stuff. Let's look at Let's look at another example. 151. Another example, the carol in a minor key. Let's sing first stanza. There you go. Another carol in a minor key. Sad sounding? No, not at all. And what does it end with? Again, with a punctuation, an exclamation point. Thank you. So let's look at a couple of major hymns now. Turn to number 144. In the bleak midwinter. How dreary, right? But in a major key. Let's sing the first verse together. Add. Here we are in bright, sunny F major. Same key as the beat or toccata. So, how did it make you feel singing in the bleak midwinter in a major key?
Cold.
Yeah, cold, reflective perhaps. Yeah, it's a serious text. Could have been said in minor. But it wasn't said in major. So singing in major keys of these reflective texts reach into us, don't they? Yeah? Gives us something to ponder, something to think about. Especially when we get to that last verse. What can I give him for as I am? Let's sing that together. Giving your heart and also turning in your pledge card. If you haven't done so already, thank you. So let's look at a couple of other examples. 147. Again, here we are in bright sunny D major. verse 6. Let's sing that one together. Here we go. Now, how did that one make you feel? Major key, a little bit more up tempo, as they would say in the theater, right? Okay, but still, kind of a reflective text. And a couple of things that draw these reflective texts to these two examples of carols that we're looking at together are the way that they conclude. They conclude with a call to action, right? So in the bleak midwinter, what can I bring him? We're being called to action, to bring gifts for the Christ child. And in the first Noel, our call to action, then let us with one accord sing praises to our heavenly Lord. Wraps up, brings the text to a close with that call to action that carries us forward. Now I want to look at a couple of other carols that have alternate tunes, because we talked about the composer, the poet, the hymn writer, the carol writer. We talked about the music that's written to go along with the poetry. Sometimes more than one composer writes a tune and a melody for the poet's work. Let's look at Away in a Manger, for example. Let's look at number 114. Surely one of the best known and most beloved of all Christmas carols, right? Away in a Manger. Okay, here we go. First verse. Next page, number 115. In the first verse. So, there's two examples. 115 is probably the better known tune, right? Raise your hands at 115 is the better known tune for you. Yeah. 114, if that's the better known. Look at that, you know? So, why do we have more than one tune for a Christmas carol, you might ask?
The second one was written first, according to this text. And then the second one came along later, about 5 or 6 years later.
Exactly. And so time passes, composers come and go, and new music gets written, right? So old music was once new music. And if we didn't have composers composing new music today, there would be no old music from our period tomorrow. So great theologian, I know once addressed a group of organists at a convention. We were talking about new music commissions, and why composers were writing new music for the church. And this is an Episcopal priest speaking, and she had the greatest answer I've ever heard. She said, "It's because God is not dead."
Amen.
Amen to that. God is still inspiring composers and poets to write new music, to write new poetry that has expressions of their faith. And that's why we have different melodies and different tunes. Let's look at a couple more. Turn to 266. Yes, question.
Yeah, can 114 and 115 be sung like a duet where they're simultaneous?
I've never tried that. But what I have done, which is very successful, is to sing one verse of one tune, another verse of the other. They just happen to be in the same key, so that works really well. So you can sing a way in a major. For the first verse and the second. And then back to verse 3. And that gives it more variety, more variety. Works really well that way. Yes.
When I learned this as a child, the word bright sky was not done. It was just the stars in the sky look downward. Anybody else?
So at some point, bright sky was added in there. Yeah. Okay. Editors oftentimes make adjustments in text. Sometimes they're very good and they're very meaningful, especially when it comes to making the language inclusive. Sometimes editors change text and words here or there for the sake of poetry, especially if it's been translated from another language into English, which you don't always get the great poetry of the original language when it's translated. So there are some variations, and you just know that that's going to be the case, with published music once it goes into print, and that's what the editors have decided it should be. Yeah.
One of the great things about this new hymnal is the little explanations at the bottom.
Yes, they are very helpful, very interesting. It's almost like a human interest. Yeah, explanation at the bottom. Very helpful indeed. Turn with me to 266 next. Let's sing the first verse of Joy to the World together. What's wrong with that? Yeah, what's wrong with that?
It's not the right tune.
It's not the tune we know. It's not the tune that we commonly associate with that text. There's nothing wrong with it, except it's different. It's a different setting of the same text, which is not necessarily a Christmas text. Joy to the World truly could be sung at any time during the year. If you look at the text, joy to the world, the Lord is come. Well, the Lord is come. Amen. Yeah, let earth receive her King, let every heart prepare room in heaven and nature sing. Okay, now in the Christmas carol that we know, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and heaven, there's your refrain, that we associate with Christmas carols. So if we were to sing Joy to the World on a Sunday morning in June, you might think that your worship leaders have lost their minds, right? Wrong month. They put in the wrong number. Oh, it's supposed to be something else, but we're going to sing Joy to the World because that's what the bulletin says. But in June, wouldn't it be interesting to sing this? It doesn't sound like Christmas, right? Okay, so let's look at 134 now.
There we are.
Yeah, oh, you already recognize it. First verse, ready, and. Okay, last verse, fourth verse, ready, and. That's what you expect at Christmas, right? Yeah? But there's nothing wrong with the other two neither. It's just designed for a different purpose, different use. Okay. So let's talk about the most popular Christmas carols. You know, there's so many surveys out there online, usually radio stations do them, about tell us what your first favorite Christmas carol is, and we'll play the top 30 hits, okay? So looking at the Christmas carols from the Christian tradition, and not Jingle Bells and Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, if we look at the carols from the Christian tradition that we're singing, here's what one survey reported as being the most popular. Some surprises on this list to me, I tell you. Number 1, O Holy Night. I might have expected it to be Joy to the World, you know? Joy to the World came in 12th. Number 2, Silent Night. Number 3, In the Bleak Midwinter. Yes. Here we are, the 3 most popular carols in this survey that I referenced are these slow, somber, beautiful, heart-touching carols, In the Bleak Midwinter. Number 4, Hark the Herald Angels Sing. No big surprise there, right? Yeah. Number 5, In the Bleak Midwinter. Because there are 2 carol settings of In the Bleak Midwinter. One by Holst, the composer Holst, who composed The Planets. The other by Dark, choral composer, English choral composer. So in the first 5, we've got O Holy Night, Silent Night, In the Bleak Midwinter, In the Bleak Midwinter again, and Hark the Herald Angels Sing. Isn't that something? Number 6, O Come All Ye Faithful. All right, here we go. Number 7, Carol of the Bells, the Ukrainian bell carol. Number 8, O Little Town of Bethlehem. Again, a slow, somber, reflective carol, has lots of chromaticism in it. Number 9, Once in Royal David City. Almost every Lessons in Carol service will begin with Once in Royal David City because it's setting the scene for the stories that are going to follow. And number 10, Away in a Manger. You would have guessed that, I'm sure. But the first Noel that we sang a few minutes ago came in 26th. Can you imagine? I would have thought the first Noel would have been in the top 10 as well. So now what I would like to know, spend a couple minutes, because I have to go back to work for another service. What are your favorite Christmas carols? I'm going to make some notes up here because if we can be sure to pull these into our Christmas Eve services, then you have to promise to come. So, shout out some favorite carols, please. First Noel, Silent Night.
I heard the bells on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
One at a time.
Oh, holy night.
Silent Night, bells on Christmas Day.
Adeste Fidelis.
Once in Royal David City. In the bleak midwinter.
Oh, good.
Good Christian friends rejoice.
Good Christian friends.
It came upon the midnight clear.
Midnight clear. Oh, I love that one.
Go tell it on the
mountain.
Go tell it.
Yeah.
Go tell it.
Angels we have heard.
Angels we have heard on high.
Nobody's mentioned joy to the world.
Nobody's mentioned joy to the world. It came at 12th, remember? Would you like to claim joy to the world?
I do.
All right.
They were listening to it to Richmond.
We're gonna wait till June.
So I'm taking worship planning. First Noel, Silent Night. I heard the bells on Christmas Day. Adeste Fidelis. O come, all ye faithful. Once in Royal David City, and the bleak midwinter. Good Christian friends, it came upon a midnight clear. Go tell it on the mountain. Angels we have heard on high, and joy to the world.
Oh, holy night.
Oh, holy night.
Carol of the bells.
Carol of the bells.
Low how a rose there.
Low how a rose.
What child is this?
Carol of bells. What child?
Is
Okay.
this a 3-hour service?
No, but we have 3 services. 3 services on Christmas Eve.
Little drummer boy.
Little drummer boy, not in our hymnal. Would you like to take another spin? All right, well, that's
Is O Holy Night in hymnals?
it is not, no, but it's one of the most beloved Christmas carols, but Westminster Choir and soloists will sing it on Christmas Eve. Yeah, it's a promise.
If you put 3 ships in, you might attract some new people.
And beer and Walton Community Hall follow, right? Good. So I want to wrap things up because, like I said, I've got to go play for another service. Next Sunday afternoon at 3 is our Christmas concert that the Westminster Choir has been working on since October. It's going to be wonderful, folks. And the Christmas concert is designed around the theme of hope, peace, love, hope, peace, joy, and love. So these are the themes for the 4 Sundays of Advent. You heard Greg talk about those in the children's time today. Ted and I are going to share playing and conducting. He'll be at the piano and I'll be conducting some of the pieces, and I'll be at the organ, he'll be conducting some of the pieces. And this concert is going to include music by all living composers. It's going to include the writings of Maya Angelou and Kate Bowler, read by Casey Morrison. So that's next Sunday afternoon at 3. You don't want to miss it. The concert program is going to include congregational participation as well, audience participation. So at the beginning of the concert, we're all going to sing together a really stirring arrangement of O Come, Emmanuel that was set by John Rudder. Then we'll follow that with another composition by John Rudder called What Sweeter Music that was made popular about 30 years ago by the King's College Choir. Following that, we have O Holy Night, and a fresh new arrangement by Craig Courtney. O Day of Peace, and a fresh new arrangement by Jance Black. How Great Our Joy, which you probably think, I really don't know that, but when you hear the piece of music, you'll say, oh yeah, I do know that. And a wonderful new arrangement by Craig Courtney. Love Divine, A Love's Excelling, arranged by Mac Wilberg, who's the conductor of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. You might think, Love Divine, A Love's Excelling at Christmas? Really? Go look at the first verse of Love Divine, A Love's Excelling sometime. You'll know why it's in a Christmas concert. And then we're going to conclude with Carol singing the first Noel all together. What was it, 26th on the most popular list? Yeah, you are going to have it on your top 10 pretty soon, because this stirring arrangement by Dan Forrest is absolutely spectacular. That's next Sunday afternoon. Now then your chance for Christmas caroling is on Sunday afternoon, December 17th. And we'll meet here in Walton Community Hall at noon. We're going to have lunch, I think pizza and salad, and some desserts and cookies and so forth. We're going to have a rehearsal at 12:30 of all the carols and the carol booklets that we'll be taking to 4 retirement communities. We'll wrap up our rehearsal at 1 o'clock, and we'll disperse and going to 4 communities, Cokesbury, Country House, Stone Gates, all for programs at 1:30, 30-minute carol singing program. And then the 4th is Marist Grove, and we'll start that at 2 o'clock because it's just a little further away. It takes a little longer to get there. So that's on Sunday afternoon, December 17th. I hope you will all come. This is an event for all ages. So bring children, grandchildren, grandparents with you to this, and let's have a great community event and share the joy of Christmas and Christmas carolings throughout these retirement communities. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.